business partner told me something 8 months ago, changed my entire life. He's been in the HVAC space for a while. He said, listen, he said, your whole life, you've been like a wild Mustang. He's like, we let you out to pasture, and he's like, you were running around. He goes, you're not running by yourself anymore. He goes, you're not running, you're not leading, you're riding right next to us. He goes, lean into us. Stop being the hero and everything. And I realized when I stopped being the hero in my business took off.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome. We got him. So listen, before we even get started, sir. So what I want to hear from is the conversation that you led up to, hey, babe, I know we got these kids and everything, but I'm going to leave my job because that was so recent. And I think timing's everything. So, how long has it been? What, a week and a half, 2 weeks?
No, it's been about a week. So not last Friday, but the Friday before. So this is my second Monday. So pretty good. I mean, it wasn't really a hard conversation. So my wife's kind of used to me, right? I'm I'm all over the place. So she knows it was time, right? She's kind of pushed me in that direction before, right? Because I come home and I'll complain. I'll say, hey, I don't want to keep working for other people. She's like, I know. Why don't you stop being stupid and go do it for yourself? So, it wasn't as bad a conversation as you think it would be.
It's mainly us, not them.
Yeah. I think she's been ready for it for years. I think she's just kind of waiting for me to actually take myself seriously.
So let's talk about this is real for people. Here's the thing. We know that we can be successful in the business that we bought or the business that we're building. It's not even about the money, really, at the end of the day, because you don't get into business. I mean, there's a lot easier ways to make money.
Yeah,
so
don't do it
I think it's
more
more
money.
Yeah, I think it's more of, I don't know if the word emotional stability, but it's more of a comfort level, and unfortunately, that's not promised.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you're going to get in this lifestyle that we call entrepreneurship, you've got to have a pretty high comfort level when it comes to risk. Pretty comfortable with stress. All the things that aren't healthy for you, right? So if you can do that, and then you should try it out, right? But yeah, you're absolutely correct. Don't get into entrepreneurship for money, because it's not guaranteed. Don't do it because you are tired of working 40-hour weeks, because you probably work 80, almost guaranteed for 10 years or more, and make sure you got a good support system. So super blessed that I've got my wife and my kids. So they love it.
So I got to tell you a funny story. So we're working on a contract. This was just last year. So this is very recent. So I'm with my sales manager. We're driving an hour and 45 minutes down to Pittsburgh to go meet with this master plumber. So we had a $4.2 million project. We won all of it. Okay. But it was in peril. The plumbing side was in peril because we didn't have a contract in that county. We didn't have a master plumber. So I had met a guy 2 years ago that wanted to start his own business. So we were going to cut him this ridiculous check. He was going to be able to have it work for a year. It was a very intricate thing. And so we're driving down, and I'm going over what we're going to meet with this guy about. I haven't seen him in a year. And my sales manager looks over to me. I go, hey, man, how are you doing? And he goes, this is absolutely terrible. He goes, I hate every part about this. I go, man, this is so cool. He goes, what do you mean cool? I said, I don't know if we're going to get it. I don't know if it's going to happen. He was like, that's not fun. I was like, he's like, I want to throw up. I was like, dude, it's cool. So we sit down, he meets us, and I tell him, and he goes, oh, that's intriguing. He goes, I think I'm going to go think about it for the weekend. And I said, you're not going anywhere. I said, we're not leaving this table until a decision is made. And Jay looks over, he goes, what? I go, what's it going to take to get this done? He goes, another 20 grand. I said, done. I said, I had 40. You took 20. Thanks. And
Yeah.
and so he left, and Jay goes, "Wow, that was so cool." And I was like, "Yeah, because I didn't care, because it's not, And honestly, they wound up taking it from us anyway. It's a blessing in disguise because the plumbing part of that project's been terrible. But the longer you're in those situations, what you were describing, the better you can get comfortable with not needing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not a day goes by that I don't get a call. It's like, we have a major problem. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking, oh man, God, this is a major problem. Not today. Right. And then 9 times out of 10, I'll hear the problem and I'll go, okay, it's
That's
easily
so
fixed.
small. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
It's like,
It's
let's get it
it's a
done.
labeling. It's a
Yeah.
labeling of what is an actual issue is probably the
Yeah.
hardest thing in small business.
Yeah. And I'll tell people all the time too, like you, you, you learn, like you can let your problems like make you have a bad day. Like you can do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the the best entrepreneurs or the best business owners are the ones that maybe have a bad 15 minutes and
Dude,
then they
it's
move
so true.
on.
Did you have a bad day or did you have a bad hour?
Yeah, I mean that's what it boils down to. Like if you can train your mind to go, okay, this is a setback, but it's not forever, you know. And the
Mhm.
faster
You
you
know
can
what a
get over it and
setback
move
is?
on.
You know what a setback is as a small bit missing payroll. That's a setback.
Oh, oh
Okay.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
big one. Yeah,
look,
yeah,
last year I said, look, dude, I said, you could tell my vendors, and I'm not being rude because I love my vendors, but you can tell my vendors, they can see it where you don't. We're not missing a payroll ever. There's no
hmm
coming back from there.
right. Yeah, exactly. Like number one, take care of your guys, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
that would be a bad day, probably a bad
Mm-hmm.
day. So
So you come from a CFO background, which I think is a
yep.
very intriguing. I think it's a very intriguing thing to be as a small business, because the problem that separate from you, because I'm learning what you know, and vice versa, and probably a little bit of both. That's why we connect so well.
Yeah.
I would imagine, though, it's a blessing in disguise because you can probably get caught in the numbers too much.
Oh, 100%. You ask any of my partners, and I can turn myself into analysis paralysis in 5 minutes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I can go, oh well, that doesn't look good, even though maybe 10 other metrics look great, and
Mm-hmm.
that's my one risk. Um, but I'm also pretty easily I can pretty easily overcome that now, right? Like just train myself, like you were saying. You get in these situations and you go, okay, well I've been there before. I know what that looks like. It may not look good on paper, but I'm pretty sure we can overcome it because we got an awesome team or whatever your competitive advantage is. So,
And so on a level that I'm trying to get more comfortable with, and I God bless my CEO. I've told him, and this was years ago. I told him, I said, you know, I said, tell me it's going to be all right. And he
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
oh, this? He's like, this is nothing. He's like, I've been doing
yeah,
this 25 years. He's like, but it's like, but we can attach ourselves to metrics that don't really matter, right? And I think
hmm
I saw this when I cut my teeth in real estate.
yeah,
Everybody's favorite thing to do is tell you how many units they have. And I'm like, cool.
yeah,
How many of those units do you actually own? It's the
yeah,
same thing in small business. Oh, you got great revenue. Cool. I've seen companies that had doing 40 million a year, and they're netting 800K.
yeah.
No
That's the
thanks.
old adage, right? It's not how much you make; it's how much you keep.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, excellent point. Do a fair bit of real estate myself. So, yeah, the first thing everyone spouts off when you go to a meetup or whatever is, I've got 100 doors or 1,000 doors or whatever. But what they don't tell you is that, 3/4 or more of those are owned by their investor or whatever, whoever they're
Mm-hmm.
doing business with. So, same thing in business, so.
Mm-hmm. And so you have a unique structure where it sounds like you have some business partners that are very intricate to the job, whether they be on the technical side or in the upper management.
Mhm.
You've got a lot of partnerships that you're juggling. Um, is that something that you've always loved, is having a lot of people around you that specialize? Is it a difficult dance to make sure everybody's on the same
No,
page?
I mean, again, super blessed in this respect. I've got a great group of people around me. Like this can't be done. Any business can't be done unless you've got the right people in the right positions, right? So, a little bit of background on me. We've got plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and we also have a low voltage company. And the people that we have that manage those companies are top notch, right? Top notch A players. We've got um, on the partner side, I've got an attorney and another accountant, right? So we're all pretty plugged in on what business looks like day to day. Um, it's kind of nice because when you get those odd situations that come up where you've got a customer that doesn't pay, attorney on standby, and he's like, I want my money. So it doesn't cost me anything, which is kind of nice. Not to mention, there's all of them are just awesome guys. I mean, we just got done with a Monday morning meeting and had a great conversation. We're all sharing ideas back and forth. We're all helping each other out, and then at the end of the day, we all say a quick prayer and then we go out and just kill the day. So
I'm gonna switch it on its head because I've had the opposite. I've had the opposite and been screwed over for 7 years straight. So it's just now in the last year and a half I found the right. But I strike you as somebody who's very balanced in who he is as a person. You strike me as somebody who knows who he is. Do you think if you were not as set in who you are and connected with who you are as a person, that maybe you would attract different type of people, but because you are so dialed in, they kind of gravitated towards you?
Don't let me fool you, right? I've had my fair share of setbacks too. So all that's kind of learned, right? Like it comes with, in some of those prior situations, maybe it's fear-based, right? So, one of the parties gets afraid and then make an irrational decision. Who knows? I've always kind of tried to stick to my guns, stick to my principles. Like you said, I know who I am. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to do something that I'm not going to be able to live with. Right. So while that's happened in the past, it's kind of like I just have made my mind up that I'm just going to brush it off, kind of what, my parents used to say, water off a duck's back and move on to the next thing. And eventually, right, you go through some of those hardships and then you find the right people. And I feel like I'm there, which is pretty great, pretty humbling too. Cause like, I'll tell you what, like you come into the office and you got the right people around you, you'll know it because they hold you to a higher standard, right? Like that's the scary part. You can't slack off around them because they'll know it instantly. Like there's not a second that you can let your guard down, right? It's like being in a gang.
Yes. So I tell myself I have to wake up every day and earn the right to be my business partner's partner every day.
Right. Yeah.
And so
earn the right to lead people you lead.
My business partner told me something 8 months ago, changed my entire life. He's been in the HVAC space for a while. He said, listen, he said, your whole life, this is a true story. I swear, I know where I was because we were going through it. He said, your whole life, you've been like a wild Mustang. He's like, we let you out to pasture, and he's like, you were running around. He goes, you're not running by yourself anymore. He goes, you're not running, you're not leading, you're riding right next to us. He goes, lean into us. Stop being the hero and everything. And I realized when I stopped being the hero in my business took off.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
I'll tell you, right? It's impossible. It's impossible because just Friday I told my CEO, man, I really wish I could yell at somebody. Because like sometimes I just want to, but it's not going to solve anything because that's not how we scale.
That's right.
If I need to yell, and that's for me. And that's ridiculous because it's not constructive, right? Yeah. And I told him, I said, man, I really hate being so evolved sometimes, but I mean, it is the truth, right? Because the truth is that the more that you need credit, here's a couple things. The more you need credit for your business to be successful, the less your business will be successful. The second is the more you feel the need to stick your nose in places that shouldn't belong, the less your business will grow.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. It's kind of addition by subtraction, right? Like you grow because you take yourself out of the situation, right? And then the people that you put there that know what they're doing are finally able to, take off.
I shouldn't give this away, okay? Shouldn't give this tip away because it's top secret, but it's amazing at what it's produced. So on Friday, we met with a couple different vendors, a couple different people that were networking. We were at the Chamber of Commerce, all that stuff. I'm with my GM and my CEO. In the middle of every meeting, I get out, I leave. I go to the bathroom. And they go, why do you keep doing that? And I go, because my presence is very large. And sometimes I have to leave the room in order for you to talk about other things, to connect with said supplier or who you're going to be doing. It doesn't need to be me doing the one connecting. And they're like, oh, damn. They're like, you're playing on a different level. And I'm like, no, that's like, unfortunately or fortunately, it was my ex-wife. She said, listen, I love you to death, but your personality really fills up a room. She
Yeah.
goes, maybe sometimes you should leave it.
Yeah. It's funny, that's a great point. So you just reminded me of something that's kind of always how I've viewed leadership, right? Like you always learn something from someone. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, right? So I can remember the first time I really learned, like internalized that lesson was I was in the Air Force, and former supervisor of mine, I'm standing out, at the smoke pit is what they call it. Everyone be smoking and standing around talking before our shift. And I never smoked, but different story. I saw him on his hands and knees and he's picking up cigarette butts, and I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? Like, I can do that. And he's like, no, he's like, it's good because now you've seen me do it. Now I know that that I'll never ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. So that's when I learned, because at that point in my military career, I'd seen some pretty poor leadership, and that was my first real glimpse of good. And I thought, wow, I learned what not to be over here and what I want to be and strive for over here. So you can always learn something from somebody.
A couple Mondays ago, the cleaner of the office couldn't make it in Sunday. So we hired a new specialist that spent 12 years at Honeywell. He came in, he's been around for a month. I'm vacuuming the office. My CEO's picking up the trash, and we got done. I'm just doing what I do. I don't even think about it. And he walks over to us and he goes, I've been in corporations for 25 years, and I have never in my life seen the owner and a CEO cleaning the office. He goes, I know I'm exactly where I need to be. And I was like, what? That little, and it just highlights how much it's not seen.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Like there's no, especially as an owner, right? There's no job that you're too big to do.
No.
I think that kind of drives respect from your guys. Just on my first day on the job, right? The guys came back from doing a job where they were using a jackhammer, had a bunch of concrete chunks and in trash cans, and I was helping them pick them up and dump in the dumpster. And they're like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's got to get done, man. Like, I'm cheap. I'm the cheap one, right? So put me to work.
Yeah. So listen, I've decided something, and I've been waiting for this podcast to ask you. Okay.
Yeah.
I've decided that starting a low voltage business is just 2024 digital marketing BS. So I've decided that you came up with a new fancy name. So you have to walk me through, because now I'm intrigued, right? Because now I've seen it everywhere. What is the difference between an electrical business and a low voltage business?
So I can give you kind of the nuance, right? So electrical, they're dealing with stuff that, like electricity, will kill you. And on the LB side, we're dealing with, security cameras, Ethernet cable, speaker wires, things that are, audiovisual equipment, stuff that's, still has an electrical current, but isn't to the point where you need a state license or a county license, whatever, right? So, we do a lot of home automation stuff, do a lot of audiovisual stuff, putting in some pretty sweet studios, kind of like the one that you're sitting in, right? So we do that. We put in camera systems, you name it. So
this sounds like a huge business, especially in this day and age. And I guess you just unlocked it for me. It's the licensing. It's the licensing part.
It's a licensing part, and then you're right. So in this day and age, everyone's connected through data, right? So why not be the one putting all those data connections together?
Because somebody was talking about something the other day that I think is super interesting that nobody's talking. I mean, maybe they are, and I'm just not in the conversations. But we're pushing as a society, government mandated, whatever you want to call it. We want everything to be electricity. Well, nobody's talking about it. So like these generators and all this stuff, and now people are working from home and Ethernet. And so in my opinion, that's why I feel like the electric part of our business is the low hanging fruit to the future.
Oh, I agree. You've got, what is the 2030 electric car mandate? Everyone's going to need an electric car charger, right? Because they're not going to go down to the gas station and plug in. So they want to want it in their garage. Everything, backup generators. We live in, we're in Oklahoma, so Storm Central, right? So we just had one this year that rolled through, and people were without power for days, and having a backup generator can be a lifesaver, right? We did one during that storm. We did one for a couple that had a 2-month-old baby, and not just to say like it's important, but like what an awesome way to give back to your community too. Make sure people have what they need.
The electric so we live in a more rural area, and the electric company here told a group of people that's back north, the more vacation homes and cabins and stuff. They basically told them last year, if the power goes out, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
We'll get to you when we get to you. Like it's not a joke. Like they literally said, like, cool, we'll get to you when you get to you. Like, and so the infrastructure of the electricity is so important. So you got plumbing, you got HVAC, you got electrical. Okay. Do you run each business from a umbrella high, or does each business have its own characters, own unique trades? Do you view it as a separate? Because we have all three too. But do you look at it as separate entities within one entity, or you just run it as like everybody should be doing this?
Oh, we're a total free for all. No, I'm just kidding. We are separate entities. We're structured in separate entities, but we do have some centralized services, right? So we definitely share with each other, right? Because that's what it's all about, man. We put together some pretty awesome connections, and there's nothing better than going to a customer's house and they've got a major problem, and it may not be in your wheelhouse, but you can lean on your other partners and go, hey, we can take care of this for you. It's one phone call, So although we are, like I said, run as separate companies, we've got different figureheads in each company. I think that's kind of a must-have, especially from a trades perspective. You got to have someone that's respected and knows their trade really well to lead on the ground. And at the same time, we've kind of overcome a lot of the, kind of that trades rivalry too. Because I'm sure you've seen it on jobs where, who knows what. I mean, I've heard some wild stories. So we've overcome that, and we've been able to help instead of hold each other back, that's a huge plus for us.
Well, everybody hates the roofers, so that's just for sure. But that's just no, I'm just kidding.
We love the roofers because they send us solar jobs, so that's always nice.
See, I need to talk to you about that.
Okay,
that's one of the things. There's tons of government opportunities where they'll train our entire staff on solar. I want to talk about it. So here are a couple questions about yourself. In this journey of owning a business, what's the number one lesson you think you learned about yourself? The biggest lesson?
Like I said, the biggest thing that I've kind of learned over the time of business ownership is how to deal with my ego, right? So when you're at the top and you are freaking out, or you're having a day, and you're sending that message from the top all the way down to your lowest guy. So you can't be doing that. It's not a plus for anybody, right? So you've got to be able to compose yourself. You got to be able to tell yourself, hey, I'm not the most important thing happening right now.
Yeah.
I've got to detach from that, take care of what needs to be taken care of, and send the right message to my guys. And then hopefully, the ultimate goal is that they learn that too. And then they're able to kind of trickle down that kind of attitude. So that's been the hardest thing for me. Growing up in the military, everything's an emergency, right? Everyone yells, everyone is get on this right now. And so that was a little bit tough learning how things work in the real world. So
the best piece of advice I can give to any business owner, and this is harder if you're smaller, is if you are having a bad day, or you're not feeling it, or emotionally you're just not there, get out of the office.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yep.
Leave. Because you would do more damage by behaving in a certain way. Because if they lose the ability to think that you can lead them, then you are screwed.
You're in trouble. Yep. So and
it's okay, and that's why you have a COO or a sales manager or whatever you have, and say, man, you know what? I just don't have it today, dude.
Yeah, I'm lucky. For me, I've got 2 awesome partners on the plumbing side and 3 on the electric side. And any one of us has that bad day, and we can always lean on the other one to say, hey, man, I got this. So, which is great.
And what is the area? We got, what is the area currently you need to work on the most as a leader?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. So let's see. I, I think my biggest problem I need to work on right now is knowing that I've got to relinquish control in areas, right? So it's like constant battle. What in certain areas, like things that I've learned over 15 years, I could do in 5 minutes. It might take someone else 15. And I've got to learn to go, you know what? That's okay. They're learning too. And I got to give them that space. And it's not their fault, right? It's absolutely a me thing. And being able to just like go, okay, like this isn't an existential crisis. Like you've got to give them the opportunity to learn, and eventually they'll take over and they'll be better than you at it, which is awesome. So that's the biggest thing I've got. I try to knock everything out, and we'll take over when I don't need to.
This is the exact conversation that me and my CEO had.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. Because it's the hardest thing as a business owner, because you're dealing in abstract and we deal in absolutes, and I need an answer for this. And you're asking somebody to grow and change, and there is no marker to say that he's done it.
Right.
And so it's that I'm going to jump off a cliff and hope that this person does what they do. Because you like literally can do it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. And that's a problem, because you've got people that you pay, to do these things, and you want them to be successful, right? But they can't be successful because you're choking them out with sucking up all the oxygen in the room. So like you said, you just got to get out of their way and let them go for it.
Awesome. And then second suggestion is, if you haven't taken a vacation in a while, take a 2-3 week vacation and watch your company flourish. And then come back and set the new precedent. So if people want to follow your journey, they want to track you down, how would they do that?
So I'm on X at Real Gwill. So last name's Goodwill. So Real Gwill. If you want to follow any of the companies, we're on Instagram and Facebook. We've got Anderson Plumbing. It's at Anderson Plumbing OK. Our electric company is Flux Electric. It's at Flux Electric OK. And then our low voltage company is at Flux LV. So that's where you can track us down if you kind of want to follow our journey. I need to do better at kind of posting updates like my friend Austin does. So,
well, I'm excited because we're going to have you on in 6 months from now. You just got started on a journey away. We didn't talk too much numbers. We didn't do that. I didn't want to. I wanted to get to know you. So revisit it in 6 months, and we'll see about what's grown and what's happened. But can't thank you enough for coming on, and share this episode with a friend and send it around. We'll see you next time. Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron, the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence, and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net